What's the matter, putty tat? Well, in case you haven't realised, there's another edition here. Sort of unintended. So, we're going to talk about that. Yeah. Now, where has that cat come from? Well, this is one of the reasons why country people sometimes get a bit funny about city people. Where do you think the cats come from? There's obviously been a city person who has made the statement that I've heard so many times, and it just sounds ridiculous. We didn't want to kill it, so we dumped it out in the bush so it could make a life of its own. Let's think about that. Make a life of its own. Killing native birds. And, you know, that's pretty much its only option to stay alive. This phrase, making a life of its own, what a joke. This isn't going west to California in a little, you know, wagon. It isn't heading up the Oregon Trail. What's that even mean? Make a life of its own. It's not a pioneer going to, you know, across the country with Indians and whatnot, shooting arrows at it. It's just a great way of dropping off responsibility for the care of an animal with the idea that it's going to look after itself out here, and it will. And they do, and they last generations. Generations of killing endangered birds, which do live in this area. And just, you know, these are domesticated animals. They're not supposed to be thrown out here. There are feral cats that I've seen that are like that cat several generations later. And as the generations go on with these cats that are out, just being dumped, they get bigger, and I mean they get so big that you would actually not believe it if you saw them, but I have seen them. Some of these ones are missing hair, they're very scary looking, they get mange, which the foxes here have got. It's basically a thing which makes all the hair fall out. One of my dad's dogs caught a fox once and it got mange, and we had to put it in a special dip and all that, and it didn't like being thrown in a 55-gallon drum with this dip. But that's what we had to do, otherwise it was going to, you know, make the dog very ill. The other one that I saw as a kid, I saw a number of them as a kid, but one of the ones that was really memorable was we got home from somewhere and we had the dog in the car with us, and my dad opened the door to get out of the car and the dog just shot straight out of the car and we were running like hell for something, and then it was below a tree barking away. This dog was a Kelpie and Border Collie cross. It was about 2.5, 3 years old. It was a full-grown dog. You know, we're talking here something that's not quite as big as a golden retriever, but not too far off. It was a feral cat. I'll give you an idea of what these things go like. We shot it out of the tree. It fell only on the second or third shot. I think it was the third shot. I can't really remember. But it'd sit there with a 22 bullet in it and it could still hang on. And when this thing did finally fall out the tree, it was the size of the dog. Now that may be very hard to believe. It sounds like it's myth. It sounds like it's your kid's imagination. It sounds like, you know, it's not. Some of them that I've seen on TV are much the same. They're absolutely huge. I've actually seen them bigger than that on TV. But it's something that happens to them when they're left out in the wild. But several generations later, they just go giant, and you wouldn't believe it unless you've seen it. But yeah, once again, someone else drops their responsibility and believes it's all going to be fine, and yet again, as often happens around this time of year, especially after Christmas, I've got another cat.